First of all, I wanted to thank the UNESCO team and all the colleagues for bringing us together. And we finally made it, and we are here today and are happy to learn from each other, which is a key to successful implementation of the project through our joint efforts. Okay.
Президент, пожалуйста.
Еще раз, да?
Пожалуйста, подайте презентацию.
Можно, да, уже? Okay. So done. Before we start, just wanted to add a few words about what the Aga Khan Agency for Habitat is. Okay. So the Aga Khan Agency for Habitat is the agency of Aga Khan Development Network, which was established to strengthen the AKDN's commitment to building disaster-resilient communities in Central and South Asia. The agency is mainstreaming all the efforts to improve the overall quality of life of at-risk communities through the holistic approach, which is a core to achieve the goal more quickly and in a more efficient way through our partners. All the works and all the activities that are implemented in Tajikistan are implemented through our joint efforts with all the government and non-government actors in the country. Okay. So these are the partners whom we are partnering with in the area of our engagement and within our mandate in Tajikistan. And I have to emphasize that the work regarding the disaster risk reduction and disaster risk management in the country, the biggest credit goes to the Swiss Agency for Development Cooperation and the European Union, who were supporting not only AKAH, but the whole country in terms of enhancing our capacity and coping capacity for the disaster risk reduction, as well as for disaster risk management in the country. So the strategic framework and the mandate of the organization actually is underpinned by the 4 key pillars, starting with the safety, resiliency, services, and opportunities, under which all other activities are implemented. Under the safety, the organization is actually working within the 2 key areas and 2 components, which is the risk reduction and the safe and improved housing. Under the risk reduction, we actually implement the structural mitigation, non-structural mitigation, settlement relocation, and critical access routes. Whereas under safe and improved housing, we conduct the housing access, building enhancement, skills enhancement, and training and housing financial products. Under the resiliency, for which a cornerstone is laid under the safety component, we implement a lot of work under the community, with the community level as well as with the institutional level. Under the community emergency management, we have created a lot of community emergency response team across the target areas. Emergency stockpiles with non-food items are created to enhance the coping capacity of communities in hazard zones. Emergency communications installed, awareness raising, and planning. Under the institutional emergency management, we support a lot of our partnering agents from the government agencies to enhance their capacity in the area of DRR and DRM. And for this, we have established the professional search and rescue teams, who are considered the core resources for the Committee of Emergency Situation and Civil Defense. We conduct the AKDN response planning. We do a lot of government integration, as I mentioned, that the work is done jointly with the government, and predictive capacity. All these 2 components finally bring us to the services and opportunities, where we conduct the habitat assessment, under which we conduct the hazard and vulnerability risk assessment of all the settlements. And at the same time, we conduct the integrated habitat assessment at the watershed level. And the key outcomes of the assessment will help us to identify the needed areas for further on development, social and economic development of the targeted areas. If we talk about the key areas and potential, let's say, areas that are also a target under the UNESCO CA project, and what AKAH could be.
Уважаемая Зайнура, я извиняюсь, пожалуйста, можете помедленнее? Переводчик не успевает.
Sorry, it was just due to the time limit. I'm looking at colleague and just going, sorry. This here, we just wanted to share where the key intervention areas are with regards to the monitoring and assessment of the glacial lake outburst flood and associated risk in Tajikistan. So there are actually 4 areas of intervention which AKAH is heavily engaged in. And the first one is strengthening the monitoring of the glacial lakes, under which we have conducted over 27 mathematical assessment of highly potentially hazardous lakes in the targeted areas. And in line with that, we conduct the annual helicopter surveys jointly with our colleagues from the relevant government agencies. Under this, another key area where we are focusing on is just to strengthen the analytical capacity, for which we have established the open centers for data sharing analysis, where we have the centers now established like almost in 4 or 5 critical and key partnering agencies. We conduct also the remote hazard assessment and degrade habitat assessment in the most vulnerable and hazard prone areas. At the same time, based on these results, we conduct the community awareness raising and preparedness sessions so that the community know what they should do before, during, and after disaster. And at the same time, we support relocation of high risk settlements, which we have just started, but actually the plans are also straightforward. Strengthening the response capacity of our community and institutions. So these are the activities. I think I'm a little bit running out of time and this is what we do. And then also early warning system also is another core area of our intervention, which we are implementing jointly with our government partners, but at the same time would be keen and eager to learn from other colleagues from the partnering agencies outside Tajikistan to enhance this in the country. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Zaynura. On the screen, you can see the map of those locations for which we have done mathematical assessment and glacial lakes modeling. In total, we have done 32 mathematical assessment and modeling of the glacial lakes. So the process of mathematical assessment starts from pre-field preparation, where all the maps will be ready and all the preparation will go on, and then afterwards we go into the field. We conduct a mathematical assessment jointly with geologists, GIS specialists, hydrological specialists. Where, for the past 3-4 years, we are doing it jointly with Moscow State University. So this is the tools that we are using for mathematical assessment. We are using copters, we are using AB drones. We are using AKAH sounder for mathematical survey and mathematical assessment. And we have also, these are the results that are derived from mathematical assessment, which is estimating the volume of the lake, which is estimating how depth, what's the depth of the lake is, doing the geological assessment, checking the dam, whether how stable is the dam is, and all the surrounding areas in terms of hazards which might impact and which might trigger the glacial lakes. This is the modeling results after the mathematical assessment, which we are doing using ArcGIS and then Flow2D software for doing the glacial lakes modeling. These are the results on a high scale, which is impacting the entire watershed. As I said, we're using drones and to conduct the survey of the glacier itself, and also the entire valley, so that we have a high resolution up to 5 centimeter satellite images, so that our results would be as accurate as it can be. This is one of our test results which we have done in Saris Lake. We have checked our equipment whether it would be possible to do the mathematical assessment of Lake Saris, and as you can see on the AKAH sounder, it's showing the actual depth of Saris Lake, and we also assessed whether there is a landslide and other hazards which might impact it. We have also installed an early warning system within Saris, which was done jointly with a Committee of Emergency Situation, and which is the holder of the early warning system, and which is doing the monitoring of Lake Saris on a daily basis. This would be one of the results of the new technology that we're also using. It's called Google Engine. which is deriving all the satellite images from the open source data, and based on the bathymetrical assessment, based on which we have countered the lines of the lake, it's estimating how have the boundary of the lake changed. If the boundary of the lake is changing based on the computer programming and the coding, it can tell us to what extent it have changed and what impact might have on the glacier, on the lake itself. So we are doing annually with at least one helicopter mission jointly with Agency of Hydrometeorology in order to estimate the snow coverage in the high mountains. We are using a lot of technology like drones, like boats, and our challenge is with that the glacial lakes are always at high mountains like 4,000, 5,000 above the sea level, and it's very challenging to stretch out the equipment, always to mobilize the helicopter, which is expensive. So we are bringing new technologies in place. So what we are doing, we bought a boat which can be used remotely and which is very easy to carry, with which we can do bathymetrical survey. It can do the bathymetrical hydrological survey, as well as checking the general characteristic of the water resources. So with this new technology, we are hoping to have a better results, better opportunity to reach the high lakes, which is very difficult considering the high volume of boats and motors that we are carrying out, with ourselves towards the lake. So the assessments that we are conducting, it's basically on a 3 level. First of all, we do the assessment on village level, where we conduct social analysis. GIS is conducting the household level analysis, collecting all the social and household information, and then we check the transition zone where the debris might come into, and then we do the higher plateau assessment where the lakes themselves are located. And this is kind of an integrated assessment. These are the results which are based on the assessment on a village level. So we are not making assessment only on glacial lakes, but on the glacial lakes impact as well. So doing the vulnerability assessment, how many households, how many infrastructure, how many population are under threat, so that we can better prepare, because at the end of the day, our job is also to warn the community and to work with the community so that they can be prepared in case any glaciers, lake outburst, flood happens. All this information is then collected and loaded into GeoPortal. We have established a spatial data infrastructure within 5 governmental agencies, which is Committee of Emergency Station, Department of Geology, Hydromet, GBAO government, which is having access to it, and the Academy of Science as well. So at then the final stage would be the final spatial data infrastructure within the Deputy Prime Minister Office, which is the focal point for DRR. Our aim is that all the disaster risk reduction information would be easily accessible and for the better decision making. So this does not include only the platform. This includes servers, computers. This includes renovation of the offices, and also establishing one separate person who can work on the system and exchange information. These are some of the results. This is the glacial lakes outburst flow modeling results, which is also, for example, showing the red dots are the households which are under threat, which is being impacted by the glacier. This is the hazard location, for example. It's showing where the hazards are and how many households are under threat based on the hazard. This is the general overview of the platform. This is very easy to use. For example, if earthquake happens, you can just load the shapefiles of the earthquake, and based on the vulnerability information that we are collecting, it can tell you how many population affected. So all the information is collected, and then we go back to the community in order to understand their perception and to increase their awareness of the hazards that they are facing, and to maximum extent to involve them in the decision making so that they feel the ownership of the data. So as you can see, they are drawing the maps, they are indicating their problems. We are checking whether are they aware that above their houses there are glacial lakes which can impact them, and how would they react. We are making them, in the next stage, we are conducting drills and evacuation with them to implement the actual scenario.
Sorry,
How much?
прошу прощения. Для заключения добавляется 1 минуту.
Все, спасибо.
Пожалуйста.
И Я коротко покажу видео, где это one of the best practices would be the Barsem Lake, which was triggered in 2015 and which have destroyed 75 households. But due to community awareness, due to preparation that we have conducted with the community, none of the households, nobody have suffered, nobody was dead. Yeah. So this is the process of community engagement session that we are conducting with the community in order to make sure we are, for each household, we are giving household hazard map so that they can have it in their house and use it for their decision making. The key challenges that we are having, it's mainly the access to information. The key challenges that we are trying to solve also access to information for all the stakeholders, cross-border strategic approach to hazard information, considering the fact that from Afghanistan we're having a lot of debris flows which are washing away a lot of houses, and unified methods for methodology for hazard and risk assessment. So with that, with deficiency of time, we'll skip the 2 slides. Zaynura, I want to briefly talk about. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any question, please do.